Alright, in this video I'm going to show you the future value of uneven cash flows. So let's say if you had these 4 cash flows, how much will they be worth in 4 years from now? So if you keep investing every year, 200 first year, 400 second year, and so on, what would be the value 4 years from now? So again, we can set it up like that. So year in which the cash flow is received, okay? Now we also need an extra column here, so compounding period, or in other words the N that we are going to use, okay? And then what is the so those are the input values that we need, and the interest rate, again we could put it somewhere and say this is 12%, okay? So we will receive these 4 cash flows, 3, 4, 200. We are investing that money, so 200 is going out of our pocket. We could write that as negative, but I'll show you we could do that in the formula too. So 600 and 800. So one way is to say you could make the input value as negative, but we could do them without doing it. So here first we have to, this is the extra column that we needed compared to the present value that we saw. So here what we are saying is the first cash flow that will come in period 1 has to be compounded to 3 periods, right? From 1 we are taking it to 4. So that means we need to compound it 3 times. Second cash flow goes to 4 in 2 periods. The third cash flow we have to compound it for 1 period, and the fourth is already at time period 4, so we don't have to compound it anymore because the goal is to bring all of them at the end of time period 4, right? So this is already at 4, the 3, 1 period compounding, second cash flow 2 compounding, and the first cash flow 3 periods of compounding, okay? So in other words, if you wanted to really write a formula, you could say whatever your last period is minus what is your current period, okay? And then we can freeze our last period because that is always going to be in B10, and then we could drag it down, and you will see that this is what the compounding that we need. Now we are trying to find out the future value, okay? So so if we are receiving 200, and of course if you put in equals future value, the answer is negative. Let's say we want to make it positive on purpose. So one way is that you could put a negative sign here, minus future value. So whatever the value is, change the sign of that. And sometimes we need to do it, but just to understand, is the cash going out or coming in? This is saying it is coming in and we reinvested it. So even though these are positive cash flow, but we are investing it back for next 3 years, and then we are trying to see how much will it be worth later. So this is the one that is going out. $200 is going out of my pocket. I got it, I reinvested it, and then I want to see how much will I get at the end of time period 4, okay? So number of periods is in this cell. Payment is, there is no payment because we are looking at each cash flow at a time, and then end the parentheses. So the answer would have been negative, but we forced it to be positive. Or the other way is that you could say equals future value. The interest rate is in cell D5, and the number of periods is here. We need to compound it 3 times. There is no payment. And the present value, I can say negative whatever the value in C7 is, and enter the parentheses, and it'll give me the positive value. So those are some of the ways that you can sometimes force it to be positive or negative. Then I want to freeze my interest rate because that is always going to be in D5, but my cash flow and the number of compounding periods will change. So when I copy it, as you can see, we changed it for the second cash flow, third, and then fourth is already at time period 4, so there wasn't compounding basically, so it's same as 800. And then the sum of those is the total future value, and which is 2254.75. That is the future value of uneven cash flow, okay? Then next we have is the amortization problem. So this is the loan that we took. We're going to pay in 5 years in monthly installment, how much of each installment is going towards interest and how much is going towards principal. So we created an amortization schedule. I'm just going to show you how to do that in Excel. So the table is, let's say it looks like month number. Okay, what is the beginning balance during that month? How much did we pay? And out of that, how much was interest? And how much was the principal part? And then what is the ending balance? So this is the format roughly that we had used. Okay. So then first month the loan amount is $20,000. Okay. Then it is asking how much did we pay. So this was the step that we did before we created the table, but I can just show you here. The payment is going to be, the interest rate is 6%, but that is for the whole year. So we divided by 12 to get a monthly rate. The number of periods is 60 because it's 5-year loan, but there will be monthly payments. So 60 monthly payments. The present value is $20,000 because that's the loan that we have taken, and end the parentheses, and obviously it is going to give me a negative value here. To if you remember in the class also we said yes, we'll get the negative value, but to look at the format of this table, we can just say that we are going to pay 386.66, so we don't really need that negative sign. Okay, so we could have done it somewhere else in the previous cell or here, doesn't matter. So that's the payment. And then the interest, I'm going to add a row basically to show that interest is equal to, actually let me add one more. So this is, I'm just labeling the column numbers. So the interest, column number 4, is calculated as beginning balance times the monthly rate. In this case, if it was annual, of course we would have used the annual rate. So whatever my beginning balance for that period is times the monthly rate. Okay, so which is 6% divided by 12, and that will tell me how much of the interest I paid. The interest is always based on the beginning balance, and then the principal is whatever the remaining money that you paid. So out of 386, if 100 is the interest, then 286 has to be the principal. So column number 5 here is equal to column number 3 minus column number 4. Okay, and then we have what is the ending balance. So we are saying if out of $20,000 we have paid 286 towards principal, that is my ending balance. So here column number 6 is equal to the beginning balance in column number 2 minus the principal that we got in column number 5. So this is how we have calculated, and then we can say now my second month. So all you have to do is set up the second month, and then we can just drag it to rest of the periods. So for second month, my beginning balance is same as the previous month's ending balance. Okay, my payment is always going to be whatever the payment in the previous month was, because we are talking about the same installment every time. And then we can just copy these in the second period. Oh, sorry about that. We can just copy them in the next row, and we'll get the values. And we only want to see 2 decimal points, so just making it a little bit prettier. And that's the, or we could just make it $1, and that's the value that we have. And then now that we have done everything, we can just drag it down, and since we already told Excel 1-2, it knows to follow the pattern, and we need 60 months. So I just clicked on it and then dragged it down all the way up to 60, because we have 60 installments. And then if I select the first second row, basically come to this corner, bring my cursors over to the corner, and the big white plus becomes a small white plus. I don't know how well you can see that video, but if you're right at that corner and then just double click, it will autofill the remaining columns all the way till the end. And then as you can see, there is no more ending balance left. So your payment was every month $386, and as you see, you're paying more and more towards principal as you progress, and less towards interest, and then you are done all the way. At the end of time period 60, you have paid the entire loan, and that is your amortization schedule that we have.